Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Pommy and Oz. And I've got a very special guest. We know this guy probably by his nickname, Pomcotter. You see him, he's always behind me. But we've got the legendary, the man that ruined small forwards' careers, Alex Cincotta. Alex, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Pom.
So, I mean, obviously, we've heard a lot about you. You've done a lot of media recently. And obviously, your journey into the AFL isn't traditional for this show. We do a lot of the young draftees, but obviously you went the common route, young guns, state invite. You missed out on the draft, ended up playing state league football, and then you had the time at the VFL Geelong. How did you cope with, obviously, that ACL in 2020? It must have felt like the dream had taken a knock. You must have felt so. How did you mentally deal with that? Where was your headspace at?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was probably already dealing with a lot of, I guess, resilience through that sort of period before the knee. Geelong weren't playing me at all, so I didn't play a game that year, like the year before. So, and then they weren't even training me in my proper position, which was half back. So I was training as a forward. So I felt that I was building a lot of resilience just from that, and grinding away already probably through that whole year, just trying to get a game. I was emergency, 3 or 4 times, sort of through that period in that 2019 sort of season. And then luckily, I was playing good enough football sort of at local level. And then from there, opportunities came. So a little bit of luck did come. In the sense that I was invited down to Young Guns state league, and then did the GFL, so just a local rep sort of game. So even though I didn't play any games, I still had a little bit of luck and had a little bit of opportunity there. So and then obviously going into the pre-season of 2020, did my knee, unfortunately, in a practice match. So, I think the timing of the knee was, in hindsight, sort of really good for me due to, obviously, COVID shutting the whole world down. So, in actual fact, I actually didn't really miss out on any football. As everyone knows, as I've sort of said in a few interviews, it just gave me the time to work on my flaws. So my camp felt like that I wasn't strong enough, didn't have a tank, so I need to get running. There were some of the things that came up as negatives in my draft combine. They felt didn't have any endurance, and probably wasn't strong enough. My body probably wasn't at where it needed to be. And so it just gave me time. And it just gave me time to work on myself, one, as a player, but also two, as a person. I felt like I was very raw, very young. I didn't know what it took to be a professional athlete, diet, gym, running, sleep, water. I learned a lot about those types of things, and I felt like that I became a professional then. So once I left my rehab and I left that gym, I felt like I was a professional athlete because I had been doing it for 2 years, So they were some of the things that I really focused on, and I had a lot of learning to do and a lot of growth. So to put it in hindsight, I guess, I didn't really have. I didn't think, I was hard done by. I felt like it probably wasn't my time. But then coming out of 2022, I felt like it was my time. So, yeah.
And one of the big things, I remember your draft year, it was probably the first year I took a real notice of it. And I remember reading an article from the late, great Danny Frawley about your lockdown ability, but all your stats and anyone who watched you then, you were more of an offensive player, more like, for those watching at home, more like Sard. You were taking the game on and stuff. You talked about the professionalism. Obviously, now we know you as this cunning defender who can't be beat. How did that professional mind shift change from maybe getting all the glamour of getting 25 touches off halfback to trying to stop someone else playing. How does that work in your mind?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like, definitely in the VFL, I was probably more of an offensive player. I think coming into the AFL system, there was more of an opportunity to be that defensive sort of halfback. Sardi, Newey, Boydie, great players. You know, they're great offensively, and probably the team didn't need a fourth. So at that probably point in time, and the best opportunity for me to get in the team was to be a defensive sort of halfback and play on some really dangerous small forwards. Newey probably had that role for a long time, as I've heard you speak about it. So then me coming in and then Zach going down gave sort of Newey that opportunity to be that offensive player and take his game to another level. And then me coming in just gave me an opportunity for one to play, but two then to take that role on. And I feel like that I had the attributes to be able to do that with some of the best small forwards. I feel like I can match them, you know, in strength and in power and in speed. And then, you know, I think it's just a plus if I can win the ball off the deck and hand it off then to Newey and Zachy and Sardi and those guys who are going to be in really good positions to, you know, to be able to, you know, attack and go at the game. So, you know, Sammy Hamill doesn't. He always says to me every week, mate, I don't care how many touches you get. You know, if you keep your guy to 0 touches or like that, that's what we want from you. So, you know, yeah.
And you talked about the VFL. Obviously, it's been a huge part. You were the runner-up in the VFL. You finally made the list. Now, when you're in the VFL, how does that differ? Because we speak to some of the juniors and they say like junior NAB football to just club football is ridiculous, the levels. Now, how's that different? When you're in the VFL, how, like, time, the speed of the game, by the eye, it looks totally different. Playing it, is that totally different as well? Do you notice a big step up?
Yeah, it is. It's a different game. VFL is a different game to AFL. I don't know. I can't speak for anyone else, but I now find VFL harder at times just because it is a lot more scrappy. The ball is always on the ground more. There's a lot more stoppages. The execution isn't as high, I guess you could say, compared to obviously AFL. So when you do get into some good spots, you're not always used, and a lot of the boys that are on the VFL list are very raw and they're very new, and so they're also learning like how to play football. Like, you know, it's different between NAB League and then coming into an AFL system. You know, NAB League is very one-on-one, where your VFL and AFL are all system-based sort of team football. So guys are just at different levels. Where when you're in the AFL, every single bloke who's out there is on the same level, and they're trying to do exactly the same and execute exactly the same. So, that's probably the difference in the end. Yeah.
And you've learned a lot through your career. Now, obviously, you talk about being in the VFL. Now you're an AFL footballer. How does that change in the locker room? So at one point in time, you were one of the guys learning your trade in the VFL. Now, I'd imagine when you're down there and you're trying to get a bit of form, you're almost like the daddy of the group. They'll be looking up to you. So how do you cope with that change? And how does that affect your game? Because obviously a lot's expected of you when you're the senior player in the VFL.
Yeah, it's something that's obviously very new to me. Coming into this year, like I sort of, I forget. Sometimes I feel like I still am a VFL player. It doesn't feel any different to me. Like, the place is the same and the people are the same, so it feels the same. But obviously, like coming into this year, like things are very different. Obviously, due to me playing, 19, 20 games last year, and that's one of the things that Lukey Power, the VFL coach, really wanted me to do when I came back to VFL was to be a leader, to use my voice and to sort of to show the way. So I think it doesn't change the way I play. I think it's more of a mindset that I've got to educate and help the guys that don't know the system as well. So that's just a little bit more of a responsibility. But it's nothing too drastic or too hard to try and do. So yeah.
And who has been the biggest influence on your career? I believe you were coached, weren't you, by Luke Power's brother as well at one point? So you're around that area?
So yeah, Luke's cousin. So Luke's cousin was a guy who owned the gym back in Geelong. So I actually met Luke through COVID when the Blues were playing down in Geelong one day, which is obviously very rare. And then Luke stopped by, that's how I sort of met Luke. And then all of a sudden, Lukey Power was giving me a few calls and trying to get me to come down. So, Nick's been obviously amazing for me. He's the one who started me off and showing me how to be a professional and showing me how, like, what I need to be eating and drinking and how important sleep is, and sort of wrote out pretty much a script for me and wrote out all the numbers that I needed to be doing, running wise and gym wise. And, we had a goal about being able to lift 1.5 my body weight. He felt that not a lot of guys in the AFL can lift 1.5 of their body weight. He felt that being able to do that, you're very strong. It took me a while to get it, but, we got there. And, so I owe a lot to Nick. And then coming into the VFL program, Cam McAuliffe, who's now my strength coach in the AFL, he had a massive impact on me as well when I came to the footy club. And then obviously, Doc, so Dan O'Keefe, and then obviously, Lukey Power. Those guys have had all big influences on me and on my career. So I owe a lot to them. Yeah.
And obviously, we see you shut down small forwards. You've towed up Pickett and Bobby Hill in the last couple of days. So, I mean, that's not a bad resume. What do you do, like, to prepare for that? Because obviously these guys are, for the benefit of being nice, they're freaks of nature, aren't they? They only need a moment. You can kill them for 1 hour and 50 and that 10 minutes. What do you do? Are you watching tapes of them? Or is this just pure sheer will and determination?
Yeah, I obviously watch a lot of tape. They're obviously, as you said, very dangerous players, and they can turn a game on the head of it. They can change a game within an instant, sort of thing. So, just really studying them, studying how many times they kick on their right, how many times they kick on their left, sort of what they're trying to do at sort of pit plays. So when the big boys get the ball kicked to them, what are they trying to do? What are they like? Do they like running into space? Do they like being on the open side? Do they like ripping back hard? Sort of those detailed sort of little things. You find a lot of the small forwards love trying to take you to a stoppage and blindside you. So being able to keep them in front of you is really important. And then just being physical at the right time with them. I think a lot of small forwards don't like physicality. So if you're continuously hitting them for 120 minutes, like, I don't think I'd be like to be hit for 120 minutes. I know that. That definitely becomes physical, but then mental. I think for me, if you're getting into the 100th minute and I've got this guy who's just continuously hitting me, like, it becomes mental, I think, after a while. So, there are a lot of other things I do look at, like, so there's that sort of analysis from them, but and then there's ours as well. So I've still got to play the way that we want to play and still help the boys and still fit into the system at the same time as nullifying my opponent. But a lot of it is sometimes just pure will. You just got to will yourself sometimes just to a contest, to a tackle in the goal square, like against Melbourne, because he actually had me beat at that point in time, and that's why he had the footy, and he blindsided me. But I was able to sort of get around Fritsch and then come and tackle him. So, just the will to never give up. Like, I think in that situation, if a guy gets to the outside and he's running into an open goal, most guys probably just go, oh, well, too good. But for me, I like to make sure that they earn every single possession. If they can earn every single one and they know that I'm going to be there, make them earn it and hit them hard, then yeah, they know they're in for a big day. So yeah, that's
Mate,
sort of how I go about it. So,
and you do it well as well. You do it well. Now, an interesting one here. If you could talk to 16-year-old Alex, you're going through that draft period, you're getting ready to play the top juniors. What advice would you give him now as an older Alex? What would you say to him?
I would say your time will come. I would say you're a small kid. You're not very big. You're pretty small, and you're only just about to start your growth spurt. At 16. For most of your childhood, you were one of the smallest kids on the footy field, which is all right. But I would say, one day you're going to be the strongest and very powerful athlete. So just stick at it. Keep learning, keep asking questions. You're going to meet some amazing people in that time, and those people are going to have your back, and just enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey, I reckon. It's a pretty. I'm very lucky, very fortunate to be able to be here at the Carlton Football Club, and also play AFL football. And for me, it was always a dream of mine to play at the MCG. So just enjoy it. Yeah, that's what I'd probably say.
And the final football question: when did it feel real? Like, was it the first goal? I remember your first goal because just quietly, probably the best commentary I've ever done. I got an Austin Powers reference in, and that's when I fell in love with you. But when did it feel real? Like, for you, when did it feel like, wow, I'm an AFL footballer?
That's a great question. Oh, I don't know. Probably not last year. Like, last year was very much so much going on. Like, from when I started, I didn't do a full pre-season, so I did like a month of training, and then we were into games, and then by the time we were into games, I was just battling away just to try and get a game, and then I got a game, and then and then we had a really bad run, so then I was sort of trying to adapt to the whole, I guess, lifestyle, you could say. Like, it's not a bloke who has come into an AFL system and no one knew his name, and then going into an environment where when you were losing, cameras are out the front, every day, and, hearing things being said about my teammates and, about us as a team, and questioning our identity, and, going at Vossi. And so it was just all of it was just such a blur. It was very new. So, and then all of a sudden, then on the other end, then we got on such a great run. So then I was dealing with then that sort of those things that, were completely different than to getting criticized, where everyone was loving us, and then I was embracing that. And, so I didn't have much of a, I guess, time to be able to just take it all in and go, okay, like, I'm actually an AFL player. Like, I was just, getting to work, and, I just wanted to be a part of the team and to help the boys win and help the footy club, get to finals, because we hadn't done that for a long time. And then we achieved that, and then we won one, and then we got to a prelim final, and then, obviously we lost, and, we didn't quite get it done. And then, the season was over, and then it's like, well, Jesus, like, it's just gone. And so, yeah, I think my last couple of games has probably been, for me personally, when I've felt so comfortable and relaxed, being out on the MCG in front of 88,000 and then 58,000, and then, probably playing one of my best games for the club last week and going, okay, like, I probably now belong. I feel like, for me, I still have a lot of layers to go. I'd love to be able to shut down a small forward and then still have 20 disposals. I think that for me is probably nearly a perfect game. Being able to nullify a guy, keep him under 10, maybe one goal, and then having 20 disposals of myself, 5 or 6 tackles. Just having that all-round game for me is still something that I'm chasing. I'm never happy with the performance. I did a great job on him, but for me, I'm still looking at some of the things I can get better at. I still let him kick a goal, so for me, that's not good enough. So yeah, that's sort of
Mate, I love the high standards. Well, I mean, we finished with some silly questions, just briefly, to get to know Alex. So, Alex, I know you are a massive movie buff outside of football. If you were a movie character, who would you be and why?
Great question. There's so many I could pick. Just trying to think. I've seen so many movies at the moment. You could go like a Mad Max. You could go like a Batman. Just trying to think.
They tell me so much about you, Alex. They do. Like the guys who are downtrodden, they come back and save the world.
Mad Max probably. Like he's just he's a scary man, but he's I think he has a great heart, and he's always gonna fight to the death, and fight for the people that deserve it, I guess. Yeah. So
mate, I love it. Will it be Mother's Day? What's the best gift you've ever received?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Or given?
No, that you've received, that someone's got you.
I'm going to go with against the Cats. So I didn't end up, I was obviously emergency, so I was at the ground with the boys, and I was in the rooms, and one of the Carlton people came down and said that a little girl had a present for me. So I went down the race, up the race, and at the end of the race, this little girl made me a drawing, and she put her name on it. She put her name on it, and then had me there, and had number 39. And she said that I was her favourite player, and she drew me a picture. So I told her that I put that in my locker. So I just want to shout out to Annabelle. Thank you for that. It's one of the best presents I've ever been given. So it's in my locker, and that means a lot to me, that I can inspire people and inspire the next generation. And so that'd be one of the best presents I've been given. So
mate, I can tell you, as an old man, 38, you are inspiring. I think you are a proper tale of never giving up and fighting for your dream. And in a world where the draftees get handed everything, I think your story is the most interesting, because it's something that's relatable. We've all had knocks, and you've rose above it. And from me personally, Alex, you were one of the first footballers that showed an interest in me. So, I mean, you've made my life at 38 a lot better. But Alex, we've ran over time. I really appreciate you giving me all this time, mate. And on behalf of the Pomenos channel and the Great Accountant community, we love you, mate, and keep doing what you're doing. You're filling people with so much joy, mate, and it's great to see.
Thanks, Pom. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate. Much love.
Thank you.
See her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh